Hello and welcome to this platform. This is Byron Adera, ex-Kenya Special Forces operator, security expert consultant, and a blogger. This episode is going to take a deep dive, basically back in time, and we are going to talk about the making of a super soldier. And with me here is my brother, same trade, basically a special type of a breed of a warrior.
Sure.
Isaac Harry. Man, we went through so much. And you know what, as I've introduced it, we are not differentiated at birth, we are differentiated again at the point where we become the raw material to become the finest warriors on the land. And in my case, everybody has different experiences, but basically this becomes a brotherhood. And like I said, beyond the skin color, Isaac here is my brother. and it's an interesting episode because it's basically gonna take us down the memory lanes, and it's something that we are really passionate about. To be sincere, and I'm talking for myself here, it's something I loved with all my heart, and I love to become what I am today. It's formed the basic foundation for what we became later. And my case is a bit more interesting, perhaps not as interesting as everybody else could talk about theirs. But my journey started from that day that I, reported for selection, which takes 21 days at the Kenya Military Academy now, the way they call it. It used to be called Armed Forces Training College. So we were differentiated as well from the thousands and thousands of, applicants to join cadet during that time, 2005. So we were 450 guys that were shortlisted in the national newspapers, and we called to go for selection. So wondering, what's this? So in my case, big man, I rocked up in a sharp suit, sharply dressed, and sharpshooters for that matter, and I ran in that suit, man. I don't know. Your story could be, yeah? I don't know.
No, I think mine would be less interesting because you being you, rocking up in a suit, I can just see you in a very, of course, a pinstripe suit and some very nice sharpshooters. But for me, that was in 2006.
Yes.
I joined the force.
Yes.
And for me, you guys, you went to now. The city.
Yes, the KMA, yes.
The upcoming city of Nakuru.
Yes.
For me, it was the land of the champions in Eldoret.
In Eldoret, sure.
And that's why I was for the, during that time, during our time, it got extended from the normal 6 months. We went up to almost a year.
True.
Nine months.
True.
And the masses there were just like, you talk of, what did you say, 3,000?
Yeah, thousands, but toned down to 450, and then they toned us down to 150 by the time we were basically taken on to at the end of the 3-week interview.
Oh, you guys were lucky because you got to be thinned down to so that you can get some very specific or maybe much more attention. But for us, we are around 2,000.
2,000, sure.
2,000, above 2,000.
True.
And that's the number. Although the number really did go down later.
Yes.
Because of course, the guys who couldn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
And but initially around the last number that really got to go through that training was around 2,000.
Yeah.
And now think about it, I don't know whether to say it was comical because the life is just I don't know. I even don't know what to say because the life is full of it's a very diverse life.
Yes.
You show up. I won't say what I showed up wearing.
Yeah.
Now that you've already done a suit, I can't pick a suit. I don't pick a suit, but one thing I can tell you, there are people who showed up, some looking like imams, pastors, and preachers, and all sorts of guys. But I remember the first 1 week.
Yeah.
People
were panel
the
beaten
transition,
into
the shock that people went
It
through.
is a shock, yes.
It was a very big. You this week you are home.
Yeah.
You're very excited, of course, to have been selected
To join the army.
The army.
Mm.
It's a very nice experience. You really love it. Then you get there, and the idea that you have is based
Broken,
on what you've
out of
seen
the window.
in movies and a lot of thinking that once you get there, it's a very different thing.
Yeah.
So the first 1 week was
Hell.
I remember there's a week. I think the first week we
Yes.
had like maybe 10 or 15 snakes that were killed in the grass. People rolling over snakes. So the transition is quite traumatic for some.
True.
some not that bad, but because it's a mixture of a lot of things. Because there are guys who will show up looking all pumped up, thinking, okay,
but then
I'm very
shock
fit,
of your
and
life.
they're the first ones to break. So it's
True.
not even a matter of, because most people tend to think like you have to be fit. That gives you an upper hand in the whole training. Yes, it does in a way, but at the end of it boils down to something more than the physical.
The physical fitness.
It doesn't have,
True.
You don't have to be even very physical, because I've seen guys who fail to show up for the
following day's exercises
Yes.
because they were just broken into pieces, right?
Yeah, even in the first, when the recruitment is advertised, there are guys who won't show up because they think they are fat or they are too lazy.
Yeah, but they
But
somehow
then
make
again,
it. At the
yeah,
end of
you
the day,
look,
they're
you look
the
at
guys
those people who join,
yeah.
and you see, oh, anything is possible. There are guys who join who couldn't literally do a single press up, and 5-6 months later they are
the fittest
they are
of
the
guys,
fittest, so
and
it's-
they're toned down. I mean,
Yeah.
the body weight. I remember, man, during my cadet selection, true to your word, the very sharpest looking guys, well and good. I was super fit when I was in campus. Tried out for rugby, and I was in martial arts. I was the security operators for the campus security when they had the BD, kind of competitions and all the rest of the events we had in campus. So I rocked up looking the part and feeling absolutely fit. But, true to your word, we had marathoners. By the time we were running in these suits, the first day of the selection. And we had this guy, I think, from the mountains as well, from the home of the champions. And this guy is, by the time you are rounding, the first corner from KMA, you would see a snake of guys going all the way to the horizon, and you're thinking, in these brief seconds, guys have covered that distance. But you rock back to camp, and they're the guys who could not only cheesy, like literally the instructors are chasing them across that field, they've lost their minds. And some of the super fit guys who thought they were actually good to go, they didn't make it past even the very few weeks of selection. And then we had these guys who just had the mental strength to keep going. And that's what matters most, by the way, at the end of the day.
I totally agree.
The mental strength and the stamina, the psychological correctness to just fit in, and and they'll give it to you at the end of the day. Yeah. So, wow, amazing. And then the most interesting part is, after the whole serious business, which we can talk about until cows come back home, our trainings, yours and mine. But then the most interesting bit is when we, don't know about you, but for us in the parachute regiment, from cadet, you basically have to volunteer. So it's the home of the volunteers, And in a class of 150, there's only 8 of us who volunteered. You're given the sheets to write your names on and say, I'm joining this unit. So that's how you ended up a para. The 20 parachute regiment, and that's how I met, man. That's how we met my brother Harry here. Yeah, and I almost forgot about it, but we actually went through the same selection, in 2007, towards the end of the year, I remember. And that must have been among the coldest periods for me. I know how not good I am with the cold, but I don't know, you breeze through that, but you have a different experience, perhaps.
No, this is not even about experience, because I know you might consider that coming from where I come from, I will have an upper hand with the cold, but just going back to what you've just said, this is just about mental, because I'm very sure you can recall guys who we thought, this guy is a beast, he can nail this, and they just can't make it even through the first day.
True.
So, meeting at this, now what you've just called it, the home of the volunteers, because even for me, it was a volunteer. You have to really, it's not like you don't get posted, whether you don't get posted.
You don't get posted to parachute regiment,
you
yes,
just
volunteer.
have to volunteer to be there. And I remember, and funny enough, it was my first time going to Gilgil. I remember we went there, we got there after 2 days of travel on the rail, and we got there in the evening. It was in the middle of the night, and
you are shocked.
Looking back, I always laugh about this, because by then I thought Gilgil was Gigiri, and for me, coming from the city, I thought, okay, this
is closer home.
Yeah, this is closer home, and I get there, and in the horizon I can see lights, and I thought, wow, this is a nice place. This is an airport. And that day we have supper, very late supper, around maybe past midnight. Just drop somewhere and sleep. The next day I wake up, and the first thing that I see is a zebra. Zebras and
within the barracks.
Within the barracks, and
it's
I'm
crazy.
like, okay, did I dream? What is here? And come to realize that the lights that I would see were in Dalamia's farm in Naivasha.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Welcome to the world. And I think that was the beginning. That was in 2007.
2007, yes.
Yeah,
True.
because I remember that same December is when
we had our selection.
We did the selection.
True,
and,
true. I remember,
I don't know
man,
why
going
they call
back
it
home
selection,
and
the punches and
yes.
yeah, but I remember that December.
And that's the most interesting bit about the parachute regiment, because I mean, you have to be willing to go through more training, and not just more training, some pretty arduous training. For me, again, that was more like a shock action, more like the whole training of cadet now brought into some few hours or days for that matter. There are 6 days of the selection, and where you're going through serious stuff. I mean, for me, the races were not as bad, especially when we started picking up weights. You know, from the second day, you're starting to run. Basically, the first day as well, you have a weapon in your hands, the helmet, and the helmets, man. The helmets they look like, I think it's intentional. These guys look like...
the gas falls off your head and you're running like a zombie with the helmet half hanging off your face. So, yeah.
They must have been donated to the parachute regiment from World War II, World War I guess.
I wonder where they came from. Considering I don't know where they came from, but maybe from the Germans or something.
Yeah, they're crazy. Yeah. And the helmet is loosely hanging on your head. And every step you make...
Wait, could this be the reason?
Well,
the loss of hair in your head?
I blame those helmets on the loss of hair for my premature balding. But then when I started picking up more weights on the second day of the selection, which takes you 19 kilometers or something.
Yeah, that should be it. Around 21?
Around 21 kilometers, man.
Which you have to do within what?
With 2 hours.